Okay, remember, they're changing my voice. No offense to anyone, these are just the facts. There's two titles. One is You Know Them by Their Fruit, and the other is The Social Orders of Every Nation on the Planet Are Pure Evil. One, any government that authorizes organized harassment to support their pitiful, childish, and sick sexual control agenda is the extreme enemy of God. This is a key fruit that one cannot ignore. We cannot ignore that the corporate state, the globalists, etc., have authorized organized harassment to support their pitiful, childish, and sick sexual control agenda. That makes them the extreme enemy of God and anyone ruling with it, everyone outside the divine order. Point number two, any government that purposely misrepresents the most important opposition view from an individual or group is pure evil. They've went out of their way to misrepresent me, trying to make me seem gay, changing my voice, messing up my shape, messing up my brain, suppressing my videos. Okay, they've done quite a bit of things, hacking my phone and changing my way about me, making it seem like I'm in a liberal spirit or something. Okay, I'm not liberal or conservative. Okay, obviously they are pure evil. Three, the complicity with neocolonialism that we have seen in the last 40 years with every country in the world is pure evil. We see that over 9 million people starve to death each year, with 3 million of them children, while fanatically sick scientific racist corporate rapists, rape by deception especially, types, have directed their social controllers to try to make anyone who would point the finger at them seem crazy. So these are rape by deception types, right? Corporate, core pirate, right? The word pirate is rape, it's scrambled. I'm sure everyone who is alive right now knows why it is a valid play on words to say corporate and core pirate are connected, okay? And the word pirate is an anagram. It's a scramble for rape it. That's not a coincidence. Rape by deception, creating a psychological construct and forcing people to live in it, and punishing anybody who would seek to correct them, including sending them to be drugged with powerful psychotropic medications, okay, so that they have trouble articulating themselves. Okay, that is extreme and psychotic rape by deception, organized rape by deception. Point number four, the rejection of my war on poverty plan, which is just a small new tax for all taxpayers, very affordable. Okay, the rejection of my war on poverty plan and my leadership of it makes it clear that they want the poor to suffer so they can pretend that their genes are superior and coerce people, even children. Remember, I would have transparency in a website, and I would have a committee of the most sincere people. I don't even know who would be on the committee at this point. We'd go way out of our way to find them. We'd vote on things and have polls, and we'd make sure that everything is moral and on the up and up. Guaranteed, that's how it would play out if I was the head of it. Okay, so again, the rejection of my war on poverty plan and my leadership of it makes it clear that they want the poor to suffer so they can pretend that their genes are superior and coerce people, even children. The rich would still be rich with my plan. Homelessness would be wiped out, except for those who want to be homeless. Opportunities would have been created. Now I do not care if it passes, as they just sit there and breed their evil genes everywhere. They have controlled reproduction to a ridiculous degree for so long that it is not so important to help the poor. No poor person has chosen to be morally precise, aka to obey God through me and make sure they're morally precise. Instead, they choose to beg the evilest governing class in human history for a mere pittance out of fear. It is far too late in the human timeline for them to be this evil, so they must, by default, be the evilest governing class in human history. And the poor people are begging them for a mere pittance out of fear instead of obeying God through me. I did not come for the cowardly dogs who are the infrastructure of the oppressor. They are allowed to live because to idiots they make being rich seem like the thing to be. The only exception is the disabled. Helping them has some importance, but only an idiot sells their soul to help them. It looks like I came to just reward my parents with the knowledge that they bred the most righteous person in history and to seal the world in hell. 5. The interference with my videos, them interfering with my videos at the most important time in human history shows that America is one of the most evil nations ever if no group is extremely pulling their strings. What kind of animals raise their governing class? I cannot wait to punish them forever at God's right hand in the afterlife. What would the righteous man say? He would say that. What would the righteous man say if he's the top martial artist ever and the Son of God? He would say that, and I have said that, and I am saying that. 6. Any government that authorizes people to threaten and provoke the most righteous man ever is a complete coward's government that is childish and pitiful, that dogs are far, 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 far above. 7. The government's rape by deception campaign must be unmatched in human history, and other nations are doing something similar. We see how much money went into psychology in the United States of America. We see how exactly it plays out. We see how people behave. We see what they're willing to go for. You see their complicity with controlled opposition. We see all the people that died during the pandemic and America's pitiful and selfish response across the board, except for me and my parents are blameless. Truly, their psychology is being applied in a way that is more diabolical and effective than other nations. And for first and foremost is for the purpose of sexual control, which is rape by deception by default, as they're deceiving people into sleeping with people that they otherwise wouldn't, and certainly they wouldn't sleep with them under the terms that they are sleeping with them under if they had the mental clarity to have basic human decency and courage. I suggest you watch this video several times and take notes. I'll put the writing, the page on the screen. Hopefully they don't change the video on the page. That's why you need to rally to me. 8. The way the school system is structured is unforgivable, as they pretend the IQ test is a valid intelligence test and that people are stupid if they do not succeed under the abomination known as the education system. Truly, they should have learned the different ways people learn and should have made it more exciting. The romantic injustice that occurs and groupie gold-digging attitudes makes it so the good guys thrown under the bus were screened out that much more. There's different forms of intelligence. The school system is made for nerds with brain function that's like nerds, a temperament like nerds, with attitudes and sentiments, behaviors that are like nerds, and learning methods of certain types of bookworm nerds. And they just memorize things and regurgitate, and they often forget the things that they memorized, and they relearn them again in college and forget them again. Okay? It's a stupid system. It wastes time. It wastes lots of the best years of your life. Best years of your life are 19 through 29. How many of them are wasted in college and sometimes in high school? Okay? It is an abomination. Okay? I don't like terrorists. I don't like Nigerian Muslim terrorists. Okay? I don't like terrorists of any group. Okay? That are actually terrorists. Okay? But let's face it. The Western education system is meant to elevate the lowest forms of life that ever lived, and they are sexual sadists. They are scientific people in sex cults, or pagan scientific sex cults, atheist sex cults. They are horrible, horrible people. And the education system is designed to discourage the righteous and to promote geeky, sniveling, kind of Bezos laughing at the righteous type of filth. And there's no excuse for that lack of masculinity, that lack of wisdom, that lack of heart, that lack of care, lack of compassion that went into the Western education system. So one of the things that my War on Poverty plan would address is we would build new schools for people who learn differently, okay, with a shorter day and a more effective learning process and processes, because people learn in different ways. Okay, point 9 is a bit difficult. There's a bit to it, but I'm sure I can explain it effectively. I'm going to try to explain it simply. A spirit can be sensed in a way that is similar to how one detects gravity. Can you see gravity? Yes and no, right? You can see the effects of gravity as you can see the effects of a spirit. Okay? So a spirit, again, can be sensed in a way that is similar to how one detects gravity. People can sense a spirit to a certain degree, but do not understand it fully. People in Western cultures generally acknowledge that a school spirit is real. So you see these atheists saying, oh, he thinks there's some kind of spirit. He thinks that God, them saying, not me, with contempt, not me. I have the utmost respect for God. They say that, they mock people and say that because they think that God is real, that they're insane or something. But when do you see these people arguing that a school spirit isn't real? Okay, when do you see them say that? So you admit that they're in some kind of way about them. We'll get to that. You see, on that point, all atheists fail. They run for the hills. They go, no! Just like on the point of what came first, unless it was powerful enough to make itself. If the logical assumption isn't the path that you follow, then you're insane. Okay? The most logical assumption. You say, hey, if I drive on this road I usually drive on to get to town, okay, I'm going to get there. Okay? You say, well, I know the road might be closed, so I'm just going to drive the other way. No, you drive on that road. And that's part of why atheism is schizophrenia, because they have come to the conclusion that the most logical conclusion isn't, and they're going to go backwards. Okay. All right. People come into a sort of childish, LGBT-like spirit, which is full of square, jock, and a sort of simpleton-like types within the boundaries of a cheesy and pointless school theme, and it is called a school spirit. They also acknowledge that wine spirits are considered real. Okay, so they say these are wine spirits. Why? Because long ago and since then, people argued that wine brings out a spirit. So they say these mixtures, these concoctions, we'll call them wine spirits because they put you into a spirit. Now, they also acknowledge that wine spirits are considered real. We hear people say things like the American spirit. Okay, you see how it's a secular state, and they argue that there's an American spirit. What's that about, to you atheists? There's also a cigarette company called American Spirits. I have found that a spirit has been defined as a vital principle, dominating principle, animating force, a dominant characteristic, a dominant force, a prevailing tendency, a motivating force, essence, etc. It is also defined as the qualities regarded as forming the definitive or typical elements in the character of a person, nation, or group, or in the thought and attitudes of a particular period. To spirit away something is to carry away with it, to seize, to abscond, to kidnap, right? To convey rapidly and secretly, abduct, kidnap, make off with, run away with, whisk away, carry off, steal away with, seize, and abscond. An unavoidable point of the Spirit of God is that it transcends all other spirits, is in the top martial arts naturally. It is not a theater, arts, game, or psychology, or technological illusion. God's Spirit cannot be harmed or touched. God's Spirit makes the spirits of those in rebellions less as they rebel. And after I die, the rapid speed in which they become pathetic will be increased. What can be easily identified in God's Spirit as righteousness, justice, truth, seriousness, the source of the essence of all that is good in nature and love. I'm almost out of time, so I'm going to shoot through this. Basically, we see the dominating characteristic, the motivating force, right? What dominates me? Righteousness and justice and a power that goes beyond others. All powerful, all knowing, all good. That's the spirit that I'm in. 10. When one is outside the global system by walking in the way of when one is outside of the global system by walking in the way of morally precise and true righteousness along the paths of justice, they are truly intelligent. They are smarter than the people who do not where it matters most by default. Intelligence in regards to why we are here, existential, higher logic, true wisdom, blah. Knowledge of self, intrapersonal, knowledge of others, interpersonal, and knowing how 3D objects relate in nature, spatial, and more are shown by they who obey God through me. People who do not are by default idolaters with false idols, whether they know it or not. Real quickly, obviously, they know that I'm right. Their spirit is cheating. Their spirit is pathetic. Their spirit is playing stupid. Why 3 million children starve to death a year? Their spirit is an abomination, and you are forbidden to be in their spirits. Okay, 11. Anyone who was not persecuted in the last 50 years is obviously satanic. One must be persecuted for righteousness' sake to be in the divine order, to be of God. We see that in Matthew 5 from the Christian religion, right? Blessed are they who are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. We also see it in Paul's letters, who says all who wish to live a godly life in Christ Jesus will be persecuted.